And the funny thing is, I grew up in this neighborhood, mixed culture, and my best friend was Tyrone Mosley, right? Now, Tyrone's African American. He would come to my house, especially when my grandma was cooking, right? He smelled the food, Tyrone would show up, right? And my grandma says, ¿Quién quiere comer? With me, who wants to eat? Tyrone raised his hand like that. I don't know where he learned Spanish from. And she called him Mijo, which means my son, too. Because in my grandma's eye, any child was hers. Didn't matter what culture you came from. She didn't have to go through a diversity class or cultural competence. Any kid was hers. She says, pues pásale, mijo, which means walk in. Tyrone, walk in. Where did he learn Spanish? She says, pues siéntese. He sat down. And she put food in front of him, fed him. And then she would do to him like she did to all of us. She would say a prayer and she would kiss him on top of the head and give him a blessing, another blessing. When we walked down the street, we passed by the Mosley's house. Tyrone's grandma would always be on the porch. And that's where the cultural difference came in. Because Tyrone didn't have a little grandma. Tyrone had a big grandma. Miss Mosley was a big lady. And she didn't call me Miko, she called me baby. Come here, baby. I thought I was a big boy, but you didn't mess with Miss Mosley. Heck no. Miss Mosley walked with a cane, and she had a reputation. She would whip your butt. If you don't respect people, she would right after you. Man, Miss Mosley, and the funny thing, Miss Mosley, these grandmas were a trip because Miss Mosley would always be on the porch on her rocking chair, right? Unless she was cooking, she'd be right there on the porch. My grandma, little grandma, only spoke Spanish. Miss Mosley only spoke English, right? My grandma would get in front of Miss Mosley house. She would stop, turn towards Miss Mosley and say, good morning. Miss Mosley get up off that chair, get to the end of the porch. Buenos dias. And I used to laugh as a little boy, them trying to speak each other's language. I'm saying, why would my grandma stop? Why would Miss Mosley, her hip and all, get off the porch and greet each other in each other's language? There was no federal mandate. There was no, you didn't have to do it in order to get funding. The reason why they did it is because I was watching. And they knew based on their behavior, I would see other people and the value of other people and the significance of relationships and who was important and who I needed to greet and who I needed to respect and who I honored and who I loved and who I reached out to and who I allowed to reach out to me based on their behavior. And they send me into a Head Start to do an assessment of this 4-year-old boy that's angry, has already been kicked out of 2 preschools. And I walk in to this preschool and the teacher greets me and says, there's the angry little boy. I said, what's his name? Because they've already labeled him attention deficit. They've already said he's high risk. They already says he's dysfunctional. What is his name? Do you know even his name? And I see him because they have him separated and isolated. And now we know research that connections and attachment are the most significant developmental and healing factors, and we still separate children. My daddy, when we would get in fights with each other, get in arguments, me and my brother and my sister, he would make us kneel like this towards each other. Why do I gotta kneel with her? She's got stinky breath, too bad. You gotta get along. But I don't want to. Well, get along. That's your sister. Anything you do hurts her. We would get in trouble. My dad wouldn't say, you sit over there. Come on, you're with me now. What? Come on, we gotta go cut the grass. But what? What? You can't get along. You stay with me. And I would have to stay with him. And when I would stay with him, he would talk to me. And he would tell me, see how I have to work? Look at my hands, feel my hands, see what I have to do. You want your life to be as hard as this. And if my hands are hurting this much, your mom works twice as hard. But he wouldn't separate me so my mind would go crazy, and then while I'm sitting by myself, think I'm worse off and I'm terrible and I'm bad. He would keep me connected to him. So when I see this little boy in the corner, angry and throwing things around and nobody around him, yes, I understand from a scholastic educational point of view, from a spirit and healing point of view, I know that child's not going to be healed by himself. So I go try and see if I can connect to him, and he doesn't throwing blocks around and everything, and try and look at him and he's doing like this, and I find this little car and I throw it at him and he kicks it. So I throw it back at him again. And I throw it again. And so I kick it back. And he kicked it. And I kicked it back. And then he smiled at me. I said, I got you. That's all I wanted to see. You still have it, son. You still have that spirit. God is still in you. God don't make junk. What happened to you? Who didn't touch you? Who didn't bless you? Who didn't connect to you? It's not your fault.